Everyone always asks me, Jared, how do I start investing in Section 8? So today I'm making a step-by-step breakdown on exactly how you can start finding profitable Section 8 rental properties. And all you need to get started with this is a Wi-Fi connection in your phone or a computer. And if you guys are new here, my name is Jared. I'm 22 years old. I own 90 Section 8 rental properties that are generating $64,000 in profits every single month. So let's get right into it. Step number one is super simple. Literally just go to ChatGPT and ask it for a list of landlord-friendly cities that you can buy houses for around $100,000. In most cases, it's going to give you a list of profitable cities for Section 8 real estate investing. You do want to make sure these are also highly populated cities so that you know you'll be able to find Section 8 tenants in the areas that you're investing in as well. But usually ChatGPT doesn't just give you some random small cities, so you'll be fine. As you can see here, ChatGPT gave me a really good list of cities. So to start off, I'll use Detroit for the example. So step number two, you're going to plug this city into Zillow, and here's the exact criteria that you want to put into your filters. Starting off with the price point, you want to be anywhere between $70,000 to $150,000. Anything below $70,000 is going to need far too much work. If it's $60,000, even if the photos look good, I can guarantee you that property is going to need too much money in repairs, whether it's foundational issues, plumbing issues, it needs a new roof. It might not be something that you can see directly from the photos initially, but there's always going to be something wrong with that property if it's below $70,000. And anything above $150,000 simply won't cash flow what you're looking for with Section 8, because for these Section 8 rental properties, you want at least between $500 to $800 in monthly profits. Now, when it comes to the bedrooms and bathrooms for these houses, I always do 3+ bedrooms. Bathrooms don't really matter. Section 8 doesn't care about bathrooms when they're determining how much they pay you in rents. If it's a 3-bedroom home, ideally I like 1 or 2 bathrooms. If it's a 4-bedroom home, usually 2 bathrooms works best. Anything below 3 bedrooms, you'll typically find properties that don't cash flow very well because they pay based off bedroom count. And anything over 4 bedrooms, you're going to get huge families that are going to cause a lot of wear and tear to your property. So ideally stick to 3 and 4 bedrooms. As far as the home type, we're going to be sticking with single family houses because Section 8 tenants get vouchers based off bedroom count. So let's say a Section 8 tenant has a 3-bedroom voucher. Either they can move into a 3-bedroom single family home or they can move into a 3-bedroom multifamily home or apartment complex. In almost every scenario, the high quality tenants end up moving into the single family homes, and the tenants that couldn't get into the single family homes are the ones that end up in those apartment complexes or the manufactured homes. So try to stick to single family homes so you're not dealing with major headaches down the road. You also want to make sure in terms of the square footage for this home that it's no smaller than 750 square feet, because no tenants are going to want to live in it if it's too small, and no larger than about 1,700 square feet or so, because the bigger the home is, you don't get paid more money in rents, and it just means there's going to be more things to repair throughout the property. So no bigger than 1,700 square feet. Lastly, the year built on these properties, ideally you want to stay above around 1950. I'll go as far back as about 1935 or so, as long as the property is in good condition. If not, just stay above that 1950 mark. Now, once you have these filters in, there is no shortage of properties. There's a lot of cities that this works out well in. You can see here in Detroit, there's 671 options just in this one city. Now, once you plug in these filters, there's a few more things you also want to look out for. So when you click through these properties, you want to find homes that are move-in ready or at least very close to move-in ready, because before you're allowed to rent out your property to a tenant on the Section 8 program, the local housing authority is going to send out an inspector to your property, and they want to make sure that that home passes the safety standards of that county and that it's in livable conditions. So the last thing you want to do is buy a property that needs $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in repairs and waste all that time and money to get that home rented out to a Section 8 tenant, when instead you can just buy a home that's already move-in ready so that you can purchase that home, get it rented out, and move on to the next one. It's all about speed with Section 8. Now, for example, if we're looking at this house right here, this home looks pretty good from the photos. The roof looks relatively new. I don't see any issues on the exterior. The interior looks like it's in fairly solid condition as well. And when I'm looking at the basement here, I don't see any major cracks in the walls, meaning there's no direct indication of foundational issues just off the photos, which is obviously a good sign. And if you're just looking at the photos, this property right here could be considered a good deal, but I'll show you what else to watch out for as well. When you're reading the description, you also want to make sure there's no tenants in place. You want to make sure you're buying these properties completely vacant, because buying a property that already has a tenant in place, it's called inheriting tenants. And when you inherit tenants, it's one of the biggest things that causes you to end up with a tenant that's not a high quality tenant, that you were not able to screen yourself, that you end up having to get an eviction for. So just buy a vacant property, and it's very easy to get a tenant moved in once you purchase that home. So don't worry about that part. And also, when you find your own tenant, it gives you a much higher probability of being able to negotiate the rents so that you can get the highest Section 8 rents and the highest cash flow for this house as well. Another thing that you want to look at for these properties is the sales history. So if you scroll down on the listing on Zillow, you'll be able to see the sales history. You want to make sure you're not buying a property that's constantly getting sold. You want to also make sure you're not buying a property that has gone into escrow and fallen out of escrow multiple times. Because chances are, if it's constantly getting sold, there's some kind of underlying issue that's not easy to tell up front. And if it keeps falling out of escrow, usually what that means is there's a buyer that writes an offer on the property, they get an accepted offer, they do their inspection, they don't like what they see in their inspection, so they back out of the deal. If it happens one time, it could mean the buyer just got cold feet and they backed out of the deal, but once it starts happening 2, 3, 4 times, it's a pretty big red flag, and I'd honestly just pass on that property. But you can see for this one right here, there's none of those issues. This one was sold in 2025 at $20,000, so it was clearly just a flip. Not a deal breaker, but that is something to keep in mind as well. A few other big things you want to look out for when you're looking at these photos, or when you're speaking to the real estate agent on these properties, or maybe when you're getting a FaceTime showing on these houses, is you want to make sure A, the roof is in good condition. You want to make sure there's no huge trees hanging over the property or no huge trees right next to the house, because if there's a huge tree next to the house, the tree trunks can get into the foundation, start causing issues there. The branches hanging over the property can start dropping debris on the roof and causing extra damage that doesn't need to be happening. And in some cases, if there's a big tree next to the property, you can also get termites or ants or squirrels going up and down your property. Just not something you want. Now, as long as all of that looks good, then the next thing that you want to check is the crime for this property. So a website that I like to use to check the crime for these houses is called Spot Crime. And the way it works, it's very simple. Just go to spotcrime.com, you plug in the address, and it'll show you every crime that's been committed in the area in the past few months so that you know exactly what kind of neighborhood you're buying your home in. And this is very important because obviously you don't want to buy your property in a shooting range, and you want to be buying your property in an area that tenants will actually want to live in and they'll want to stay there long term. So pretty much any address that you put into Spot Crime, I will preface this by saying it will look like there's a lot of crime because it's showing you every crime that's been committed over the past few months. But the main thing that you're going to be looking for when you're looking at spot crime are shootings, because shootings are the things that mostly scare the tenants away. So when I'm looking at a property address, typically if there's any more than 2 shootings, I'll pass on that property. Or if there's 1 or 2 shootings right next to the property, then I'll pass on it. You can see for this example, no shootings. So again, this property would pass that part of the checklist. So for this property, we now know the photos look good, the description looks good, the sales history looks good, the crime looks good. So the next thing that we're gonna wanna check for this property is the cash flow and make sure it's gonna be profitable. So the way we would start doing that is first by checking how much Section 8 is gonna pay in this specific zip code. And you can check that by going to HUDuser.gov, and they'll tell you exactly how much rents the government's gonna pay in every single zip code across the country as long as there is a housing authority in that zip code. So you'll scroll down over here to where it says click here for the 2026 FMRs. Select the state and the county. So this is Detroit, which means it's Wayne County. Press next screen. And now it's just gonna list off every single zip code in this county and tell you exactly how much they pay in rents for every single bedroom count. So you can see for this zip code in 48228, for a 3-bedroom home, they'll be paying $1,500 in rents. Now keep in mind, this is an $85,000 single family home and it's renting out for $1,500. The reason the rents are so high is because typically the government will pay between 30 to 40% higher rents than regular tenants would pay in the area because they want to incentivize more landlords to accept Section 8 tenants into their properties. So now that we have the rents, the next thing we want to do is plug these numbers into a cash flow calculator to make sure we're taking into consideration all of the expenses for this property and to make sure that we're cash flowing a true $500 to $800 every single month. So this is the cash flow calculator that I use right here. I went ahead and plugged in the numbers based off other numbers that I've seen from similar properties to this one. So we have the $85,000 purchase price. Now for this scenario, you can use a bank loan and buy this property and put 20% down, but I like to use seller financing to buy these properties so that I can purchase these homes for lower down payments. So for this scenario here, I'll be acting as if we're going into this property with 8% down, which comes out to a $6,800 down payment. There's very low closing costs with seller financing as well. Usually it's around 1%. And after the closing costs and the repair costs for this property, we would be all in for just over $11,000. Now these numbers will also be based off the idea that we got a 30-year amortization, which is standard with seller financing, along with the 7% interest rate, which is completely normal as well. And of course I plugged in the $1,500 rents that I would expect from this property because that's exactly what the Housing Authority's website mentioned. And I made sure to include the property taxes, property insurance, property management, as well as maintenance reserves for this property. And after you take all these fees into consideration, you'd be left over with $500 $533 in monthly profits on this house. That's true profits that you can do whatever you want with. A mistake that a lot of real estate investors will make is they won't take into consideration the property management fees. They won't take into consideration the maintenance fees. And then when they think they're cash flowing $700, $800, $900 a month, they have a very rude awakening when all of a sudden expenses start coming up and the money that they had already spent from their cash flow, they don't have anymore. So you want to make sure you're taking those fees into consideration as well. Now from here, we've checked this whole property. We've checked the photos, the description, the sales history, the cash flow, the crime. We've checked everything that we need to know about this property. So the next step would be to write an offer on this property. Now, not everyone takes seller financing. That's something that does need to be negotiated, and there's a right way to negotiate seller financing and there's a wrong way to negotiate seller financing. I wanted to keep this video purely about how to find profitable Section 8 rental properties, so I'll stop it there before I get into how to do these seller financing calls. Maybe I'll go into a separate YouTube video on how to do that as well. But I want you guys to seriously take this information and go try it on your own computer. It takes 5, 10, maybe 20 minutes to start getting the hang of it, and you can see how truly easy it is to start finding cash flowing Section 8 rental properties. And there is absolutely no shortage of them out there, and there is absolutely no shortage of low income families out there looking to be moved into these properties. Now, if you want to get started investing in Section 8, I recommend having at least $8,000, and that would safely and comfortably be able to get you that first Section 8 rental property that's going to be cash flowing that $500 to $800 every single month. And if this sounds like something you actually want to do, if you're serious about getting into this, but you don't really know the steps or you want to feel more comfortable going through the process, I will personally walk you through every step of the process for your first 5 houses and show you exactly what cities to look into, show you the exact criteria to use, show you exactly how to get the tenants into the homes. I'll give you access to all the resources and tools that I use, including my cash flow calculator, including my AI software that finds seller financing deals for you using AI and automatically calculates cash flow for you on every single property. You get access to my direct phone number as well, so you can text me or schedule calls directly with me whenever you need to. It's not like some of the other programs out there that market it as a one-on-one mentorship and then they just delegate you to the B team or just turn it into some course. You get direct access to my personal phone number. And if you need it, I'm also there to review these properties for you as well to make sure you're looking in the right direction for these houses and to make sure you're not going to buy some property that you're going to end up getting screwed over with and having to spend tens of thousands of dollars in repairs on. So if you want to get access to that, I'm going to leave a link down below so that you can sign up for the one-on-one mentorship directly with me. And aside from that, hopefully you guys learned something from today's video. Drop a comment down below on what you want to see next from these videos, and we'll do our best to get it out for you. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.